What's going on, everybody? Today is February 9th, 2024, and welcome back to this, the 68th edition of the Superstream, where we review the week that was through the remarkable lens of numerology, whether it be in the world of media, government, movies, or music. It's all happening by a code visible through the mystical language of Gematria and the ancient art of arithmancy, where we discover that the dates of significant events seem to be no coincidence, as if it was all scripted or perhaps just simply meant to be. In last week's edition of the Superstream, number 67 here, we talked a lot about the number 666, and if you're not caught up, I certainly recommend giving it a view. Today, we'll be kicking things off by looking at yet another story that should, on its own, prove to any skeptic that the number of the beast is incredibly important to what's happening on the world stage. This interview between conservative journalist Tucker Carlson and Russian President Vladimir Putin, two men who were born 6,066 days apart. Also in last week's video, I focused quite a bit on Kobe Bryant, and this will actually be a topic again today, as on February 6th, there was a helicopter crash in South America that killed former Chilean President Sebastián Piñera. Kobe, of course, a victim of perhaps the most infamous helicopter crash in memory. Now, the name Kobe rhymes with Toby, and this will lead us into another amazing riddle that once again all traces back to the Roman god of Mercury. Kobe Bryant died exactly 172 mercurial orbits after he was born, a number found in the Gematria of John Kennedy. But notice how in the alphabetic order, the name Toby Keith Covell, Toby Keith's real full name, sums to 172, and his first major record deal was with Mercury Records, Nashville. So some interesting stuff we'll be looking at there. In fact, Toby Keith died on February 5th, and that's the same date that the world learned King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer. Toby Keith passing away from stomach cancer. We'll look at some of those alignments, and on the topic of cancer, we'll also decode the death of actor Carl Weathers, the actor who played Apollo Creed in the Rocky films, who also passed away from cancer at the age of 76, which is a number that syncs up with his birth sign of Capricorn. Last week, I also talked about some syncs with Kobe Bryant and WWE star Bray Wyatt. And I'm actually going to end the video by expanding on that riddle by looking at the 2021 death of former pro wrestler Barry Orton. Now, Barry's real name was actually Randall Orton. And this is the same name as Randy Orton, current WWE superstar. And this is important because Orton is the man who wrestled Bray Wyatt at the 33rd WrestleMania. So we'll see how this all syncs up. And 33 is the number that connects Kobe to the WWE. The name Kobe equals 33, and he died on the same date as the 33rd Royal Rumble. Kobe was born a span of exactly 33 years to the day after Vince McMahon, whose 8/24 birthday is Kobe Bryant Day in Los Angeles. The names Vincent and Kennedy, 33. And remember, Vincent McMahon made the news recently, the day before the Royal Rumble, for some gross sexual assault allegations. And again, one day before the Royal Rumble, that news came out. Bray Wyatt's final match at the Royal Rumble, 3 years and 3 days after Kobe died. Bray Wyatt then died 3 years and 30 weeks exactly after Kobe died. Bray was also 3 years and 3 months after his 33rd birthday. So we'll see how this ties into the death of Barry Orton as well. So if you're wondering what you're looking at, here we're taking a gander at the language of Gematria, where every letter in the alphabet represents a number 1 through 26 relative to its position in the alphabet. And using this cipher is where we see that the name Kobe sums to 33. This ordinal method branches off into the reverse cipher, where the alphabet is simply flipped backwards, so that Z is 1 and A is 26. Of course, the reduction method's also very significant, also known as Pythagorean gematria, where every double-digit number becomes a single digit. Of course, we'll also review the standard and Latin methods of gematria, which are called denary methods, which produce much larger numbers, thus leaving less room for coincidence. So the stories we'll be looking at, I'm going to add chapters to this video after we're live. So if you want to jump to any of the stories you see on your screen, go ahead and click below. And it should take you right there, so long as YouTube doesn't give me a strike or anything crazy before then. I think we'll keep it clean here today, though. We'll just stick to numbers. And as far as the numbers go, maybe the best riddle of the week goes to Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin for sitting down for a forbidden interview by the standard liberal left. Tucker Carlson, a man born 6,066 days after Vladimir Putin. Now, what's also interesting about this measurement, October 7th of 1952, which is the day that Vladimir Putin was born, to May 16th of 1969. So not only do we get the span of 6,066 days, but if you look at the months, you also get 199 months and 9 days. Now here we have the digits 666 upside down. And in Tucker's birth year, 1969, we get the same properties, 969. Well, in the year 1999 is when Vladimir Putin first took office as president of Russia, acting president, but here we see the last day, the very last day of 1999. Well, on the date of this interview, Vladimir Putin was 19,990 days old. Now, there's a few other significant methods of gematria, and one of the most interesting ones is called satanic gematria. Notice how this phrase, using this cipher, sums to 666. And it's a cipher that starts on 36, whereas our number of the beast is the 36th triangular number. Well, if we were to use satanic gematria and write out the word beast, we get a value of 222. Tucker Carlson was born exactly 222 sidereal months after Vladimir Putin. And on top of that, their birthdays are also a span of 222 days apart. Now, a sidereal month, for anyone who may be new, is a lunar orbit measuring the time it takes for the moon to spin around the Earth in relation to the stars. It's a little shorter than a lunar phase, as we see. Tucker Carlson sums to 160 in ordinal. This is the reduction value of 603. His full name also syncing up with the beast using capital letters, but a more interesting alignment is this 666 in Latin ordinal. And what we're doing here is dropping that Latin method to an ordinal base. And this 144 is interesting because in the book of Revelation, where the number of the beast is revealed, the number 144 is mentioned 4 different times. Tucker Carlson was born 144 days before Vladimir Putin's birthday. And Vladimir Putin has been sworn into office twice. May 7th of 2000 and the same date in 2012. Well, that's exactly 144 months apart. 144, the Sumerian value of the letter X, which is where this interview was streamed. And of course, the year 24 is where we currently are. The Sumerian method simply multiplies the alphabetic order by 6. And 24, the year of the second Great American Total Solar Eclipse, occurring on April 8th. Furthermore, Tucker's birthday of the 16th of May, 1605, these are the digits found in the Sumerian gematria of 666. This interview aired 275 days after May 7th, which is when Putin took office. That's the ordinal value of 666, which also matches Russian president. 666 also has matching gematria with Tucker Swanson McNear Carlson, which is definitely a name worthy of a man wearing a bow tie. In the alphabetic order, Tucker's full name is 319. Well, when Vladimir Putin took office in 2012, he was exactly 3,109 weeks old. So these two men with many numbers shared. No surprise that it's Tucker who jumps the lines and sits down with the man. The name Vladimir in ordinal has matching 88 gematria with beast, while Putin sums to 80 just like the beast. In fact, Putin's full name, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, one of the most Russian names out there, has matching gematria with 603 in both ordinal and reverse. That's how the number of the beast is written in the book of Revelation, the King James Bible. The four beasts are first described in Revelation 4:7. Beast equals 47. So does John, and Revelation is written by John of Patmos. Russia has this Latin gematria of 470. President of Russia is an upside-down 616, which many other people believe is the number of the beast. Finally, May 7th, when the Russian president takes office, that's the date leaving 238 days in the year, and 666 equals 2038 in Latin. So I'm sure there's certainly more to unpack there, but this very clearly ritualistic meeting between these two minds on a very important date. Next up, we're going to look at the death of country music star Toby. I knew I was going to do that, and I did it immediately. Toby Keith, and how it's connected to Kobe Bryant. Of course, their first names rhyme. Toby also with the K to start his last name here. So you can see how that mix-up might occur. Now, as I mentioned at the top of this video, we learned about Toby Keith's death. Actually, it was the day he died, February 5th, which happens to be the same day that news was first published about King Charles being diagnosed with cancer on February 5th. Notice how the name Toby sums to 62 in the alphabetic order. This happens to be his age at death, 62. A number commonly associated with death, as the word sacrifice does have 62 gematria. And the last story we'll look at today with Barry Orton, he also died at 62. But notice how King Charles was born a span of exactly 660 weeks before Toby Keith. Well, Charles equals 66 in ordinal. And his diagnosis on February 5th was 9 months and 9 days before his birthday, an upside-down 66. Again, the numbers 9 and 6 can attribute each other quite well, as we will see repetitively throughout this hour. Charles' next birthday falls on a date with 69 numerology, and Charles III equals 69 in reverse reduction. 69 is a lot like the symbol for Cancer on the zodiac, and Toby Keith, by virtue of his July 8th birthday, this means he was born under the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the only sign ruled by the moon. The word lunar has this 69 gematria, just like the sign for Cancer. And when it comes to the number 69, this is the number that Toby Keith shares with Kobe Bryant. 690 Sumerian for Toby, Latin for Kobe Bryant. Keith also passed away in the city of Moore, Oklahoma, his hometown, which equals 69. So, as we'll see, there's a significant riddle for the moon here. Now, the second Great American Eclipse happens on April 8th, later this year. And if you measure from Toby Keith's death to that date, you get a span of 64 days. In standard reduction or Pythagorean gematria, the name Toby Keith Covell equals 64, as does the word kill in reverse, 64. If you take the diameter of the moon and divide it by the diameter of the Earth, you get this 0.272 repeating. Back in 2001, Toby Keith's father, Hubert Keith Covell, passed away in a car accident, which is, of course, a method of transportation. Kobe Bryant dead in a helicopter, JFK dead in a car. We'll see this theme more and more as we go. Toby Keith was exactly 2,072 weeks old for his father's death, and notice how his father's name sums to 1,272 in Sumerian. But if you flip this the other way, we find that this means the Earth is 11/3 the size of the moon, bringing us the number 113. Kobe Bryant sums to 113 in both ordinal and standard gematria. Toby's real name, Toby Covell, has this 1130 using triangular numbers. In reverse trigonal, Toby Keith Covell sums to 1978. Kobe Bryant, born in the year 1978. The trigonal method of gematria, seen in the top right of your screen here, uses associated triangular numbers along with the alphabetic order. One of these high-end mathematical ciphers that occasionally get attributed, but that 1978 definitely stood out. And when it comes to this 113 with Kobe Bryant, remember he died just before the coronavirus pandemic was declared by the World Health Organization on the 11th of March, or 11/3. Coronavirus pandemic 113. This seems particularly relevant because in Latin gematria, Toby Covell equals 1330, like coronavirus is 1303. Remember, Donald Trump declared a national emergency on 1303, 2 days later. And the coronavirus, the corona, visible only during a total solar eclipse. As I pointed out earlier, Toby's death in connection with April's eclipse. So let's talk about how this is also synced with JFK, because just like Kobe Bryant, JFK also died on his mercurial birthday. Toby died 1,471 days after Kobe. This is important because 1471 is a prime number, only divisible by 1 and itself. And as you'll see on my website, 1471 is the 233rd prime number. 233 is the ordinal gematria of John F. Kennedy, JFK, the 35th president, the last to be assassinated. Kobe died 23 weeks and 3 days before Toby's birthday. Toby died 203 weeks, 3 days after the coronavirus emergency. The number 233 is also the gematria of the song How Do You Like Me Now?, which equals 233. Now, why is this song relevant to this whole JFK riddle? Well, if you look at the date that this song came out, November 22nd of 1999. So there we get the upside down 666. But November 22nd is the date that JFK was assassinated. 233 is the 51st prime number. Toby dead on a date with primary numerology of 51 from stomach cancer, which equals 51. Of course, the assassination of JFK, the ultimate harbinger of conspiracy in the United States, which also equals 51. But one more look at this date, November 22nd, right? The anniversary of the assassination, with a song name that matches the full name of the president. Well, this song was released on the 36th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. In standard gematria, JFK equals 36, and now Toby has died on the 36th day of the year, a date which falls exactly 36 weeks after Kennedy's birthday. Now, the 36th triangular number 666, as we mentioned. Kennedy equals 666. And notice how Toby died 5,566 weeks and 6 days after JFK was born. JFK died 56 years and 66 days before Kobe. And as far as this 665 goes, well, John Fitzgerald Kennedy 665 in reverse caps. This, of course, I hate to get sidetracked here, but, you know, just a shout out to what I did last week, where I talked about the Vince McMahon story. Vince McMahon, whose middle name is Kennedy. Kennedy 666, Kennedy McMahon 666, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the same value. The McMahon story broke a couple weeks ago, 60 years and 66 days after the Kennedy assassination. And also in that lawsuit was named Brock Lesnar, or insinuated that Lesnar was part of it. Lesnar's nickname, The Beast. And Lesnar's age was 16,999 days when the charges were filed. Sex trafficking 666, the name Janelle 666. Vince McMahon turned 6,666 days the day after the Kennedy assassination. So I hope you guys see a trend here. Moving on. The name Toby Keith sums to 115 in the alphabetic order. His birthday, 1 month and 15 days before Kobe's. And Toby died 1 year and 150 days after Charles became the king on September 8th of 2022, the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. The 115 was also the numerology in the JFK assassination date. Assassin and warehouse, both 115, like killing with double gematria, 115. Kennedy was killed exactly 124 weeks after Toby Keith was born. The name Toby Keith equals 1204, while Toby Covell equals 124. And when Toby died, it was 1,280 months after JFK was born. John F. Kennedy, 1208, Toby Keith, 128. So just repetitive alignments between these two, showing much deeper connections. But before we finish talking about Toby Keith, we have to talk again about this Mercury riddle. Now, in Roman mythology, Mercury was the god of financial gain, messages, eloquence, communication, travelers. And a musician like Toby Keith is living a very mercurial life, making money, conveying messages through music, traveling over boundaries. And you got to get lucky in the business to make it big. Sometimes you just got to sell out, but in Toby's case, who knows for sure? Toby signed with Mercury Nashville to launch his career, and notice how this has an ordinal gematria value of 205. With capital letters, the planet Mercury on its own also sums to 205. This capitals mixed method maintains the alphabetic order, mixing capital and small letters together. Toby was born 205 months before Kobe, and now Toby has died on 205, February 5th. Toby Keith Covell also 250, the same digits with capital letters. Maybe the biggest mercurial ritual we've ever seen is the 9/11 attacks, particularly the World Trade Center, which basically had all of these attributes of Mercury going for it. Well, notice how the name Toby Covell sums to 119 in ordinal, the date of the 9/11 attacks. And his father died in a car crash the same year as 9/11. Notice how he was born 1,460 weeks after his father. The name Toby Covell also 1460 in standard gematria. H.K. Covell died 259 days after his son's birthday. That number stands out because now Toby has died 259 mercurial years after his birth. John F. Kennedy equals 259 with capital letters. And remember, Kennedy died on his 193rd mercurial birthday. In reverse, both John F. Kennedy and assassinated equals 193. So that's the 44th prime number which is also the number of years separating JFK and Toby Keith, born 44 years and 40 days apart. Killing 444, a big number to the Skull and Crossbones code. Skull and Crossbones 322, 444. The World Trade Center bombing in 1993, which, by the way, happened the same month that Toby Keith's first single and record was released. That bombing was the 444th prime number of days before the 9/11 attacks. And here you have the 119 in that number, 3,119, connecting back to Toby Covell. The 9/11 attacks had 41 date numerology, like Mercury 41. Kobe Bryant equals 41. He died at 41 years old, and then Toby died 4 years and 10 days later. Speaking of the moon with Toby Keith, he died during Brown lunation number 1250. This in numerology represents the digits 125, which is the ordinal gematria of John Kennedy, 125. In reverse, John Kennedy equals 172. Kobe Bryant dead at exactly 172 mercurial years old. And again, in ordinal, Toby Keith Covell summing to 172. And then his father, Hubert Keith Covell, dead a span of 172 days before the 9/11 attacks. Those attacks fell a span of 9 weeks and 3 days after Toby Keith's birthday. Again, the bombing was in the year 93, and the number 93 showed up on 9/11 many times over. Flight 93 even crashed on that date. Well, Toby Keith died exactly 93 mercurial years after the 9/11 attacks. And as I just mentioned, his first single, Should Have Been a Cowboy, came out the same month as the World Trade Center bombing, in the year 93. And look at this, it even peaked at number 93 on the Billboard Hot 100. So here we see most likely the biggest mercurial riddle since the death of John Madden. If you guys remember John Madden's death and how this was synced up with Mercury, it was truly stunning. John Madden equals 88. Mercury has an 8x8 magic square and takes 88 days to orbit the sun. John Earl Madden, 888. The first Madden game came out in the year 88. Mercury has gematria of 1228 in standard. And 1228 is the date that John Madden died. Another John, of course, a topic of last week's video with John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon. But yeah, Madden dead on 1228. And that was even 103 days before his 86th birthday. Well, Mercury equals 103 and 86. His birthday is 410, and Mercury equals 41. And the big mercurial riddle with Madden is that on the same day he died, Senator Harry Reid died. The same exact day. And Harry Reid, I believe he died in Las Vegas, or Henderson, Nevada, which basically is Las Vegas. Well, they just renamed the airport Harry Reid International Airport 2 weeks before they both died. And remember, John Madden had a fear of flying, right? Traveling. A mercurial role. We see it over and over again. Madden also has that 41 to match Mercury. All right, so Kobe Bryant dying in the 2020 helicopter crash back in January of that year. This brings us to former Chilean president Sebastián Piñera, who on February 6th died in a helicopter crash of his own. And the date immediately stood out, 2/6, February 6th. Kobe Bryant died on the 26th day of the year, several years back. And 26 was also relevant to Kobe because Lakers equals 206. Just like the word sacrifice, 206. And if you had a sharp eye, you may have actually seen this number earlier. Toby Keith Covell, also with the 206. So Toby, Kobe, right? Well, on 206, a helicopter crash kills a former Chilean president. Now, another reason this was so intriguing is that Chile is actually known for deaths by helicopter. That's right. There's something called a death flight or a vuelos de la muerte, where they would take political enemies or people they didn't like and basically drop them from a helicopter to their death, whether it was over the ocean or over the mountain regions. And one of the biggest offenders of this was a Chilean president named Augusto Pinochet. And what's funny about this name is that August is the same month that Kobe Bryant was born, August 23rd. And when you write out the name Augusto, it sums to 23 in reduction. August 23rd, Kobe's birthday. So this unlocks a strong riddle. Notice how Republic of Chile has matching 480 Gematria with helicopter. 480, also the Sumerian value of Bryant. Again, Kobe Bryant with that double Gematria of 113. To be the president of Chile, you have to take office on the 11th of March, or 11/3. So both of these men ended up on a death flight. And death flight has matching Gematria with Black Mamba, which in turn has matching Gematria with Augusto Pinochet. Probably fucking that name up. Pinochet, Pinocchio, I'm not sure. Either way, Augusto equals 104, and he would have been 104 years old when Kobe died on 126, while Pinochet equals 126. Kobe's full name, for the record, in Latin ordinal, 126, dead on that very date. You know, I pointed out the lunation number earlier, 1250. The same lunation for the helicopter crash. Well, Kobe Bryant died one day after Augusto Pinochet would have turned 1,250 months old. The word sacrifice with Kabbalah Gematria of 125. But notice this 206, right, that we just talked about earlier. Like the date of this crash, 206. This guy here, Augusto Pinochet, he also died on his mercurial birthday. Check this out. Pinochet was born in, I think, 1915 and died on 12/10 of 2006. This means he was exactly 378 mercurial years old. So if you take this and subtract it by the number of years Kobe was, 172 mercs, as I call it, that's a difference of 206 years on Mercury, right? Sacrifice in Lakers, 206. Dead on the 26th day of the year. And now Chile equals 206. Their former president dead on 206. See how this works. That's also the 37th day of the year, which is the ordinal value of Chile. 37 is also the birth numerology of current Chilean president, Gabriel Boric. And Gabriel Boric, by the way, is the 37th president of Chile. And how about this for a presidential portrait? Standing on the edge of a ship over the blue seas. It's a clean-looking leader right there, isn't it? So I'm sure he's up to no good. So if we take this guy's full name, this former Chilean president known for his death flights, notice how his full name has gematria of 1990 in Latin. Now this stands out because Sebastián Piñera died 199 days before Kobe's 46th birthday. Well, 199 is the 46th prime number. 46, the big sacrifice number. Pinochet died in 2006. Well, in the year 2006, Kobe Bryant had his best ever game when he scored 81 points. And this is actually a huge part of this riddle that we'll look at. This game in 2006, Kobe's best ever, the second highest scoring total in NBA history. If you measure from the date of that game to the death of Augusto Pinochet, it was exactly 46 weeks. 46 is also the reduction value of mercurial. And when Kobe turns 46, or would have turned 46, depending on what you believe, that's also his mercurial birthday. So what I mean by that is later this year, on his birthday, not only will he be exactly 46 years old, but this syncs with his mercurial age, exactly 191 mercurial years. Well, if you take these digits, 1910, that's the standard value of Pinochet's full name, 1910 in Gematria. Now, in this standard cipher, which I did bring up earlier, but again is of utmost significance, mirroring the ancient Hebrew and Greek methods, the current Chilean president, Gabriel Boric, his name sums to 308. Well, would you believe Sebastián Piñera also died on his mercurial birthday? And he was exactly 308 mercurial years old. Now, he died in a helicopter, but plane crash equals 308. Thought that was interesting. Kobe Bryant, his birthday exactly 38 weeks after Piñera's. And again, death flights we're talking about. The word death, killing, murder, all 38 in Gematria. 38, the number coded into the murder by numbers poster from 2002. As far as Pinochet dying on his mercurial birthday, his 378th, notice how the name Piñera, the president who just died, his name equals 378. The same digits found in Kobe Bean Bryant, 738. All right, so we got a little bit more to look at before I finish this decode. And what we need to understand is how this all connects to some news from the same day. Back on, what was it, February 6th, the same date as this helicopter crash, there was drama in the United States House when the GOP, led by House Speaker Mike Johnson, attempted to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas from his role as the Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, this all played out the same day as this helicopter crash. And as it turns out, these events are highly connected to one another. For starters, the Department of Homeland Security here in the U.S. was originally founded on November 25th. And of course, that stands out because November 25th was the birthday of Augusto Pinochet, who we just talked about, November 25th. That's the 329th day on the calendar, and in the alphabetic order, Department of Homeland Security equals 329. Well, this news, this attempt to impeach the secretary, was on February 6th, which, of course, is the date that this year leaves 329 days in the year. In the alphabetic order, the National Basketball Association equals 329. And look at how old Kobe Bryant was when he had his 81-point game. He was a span of exactly 329 months old for the second biggest game in NBA history. That game that Kobe dominated in, ritual human sacrifice, another phrase that sums to 329. But that game was also 213 days before Kobe's birthday, and 213 is an important number to Los Angeles, where 213 is the primary dialing code. Using capital letters, Kobe Bean Bryant equals 213. And notice how this Chilean president died a span of 210 weeks and 3 days after Kobe's helicopter crash. The word death 213 in satanic. February 6th was also 2 months and 13 days after Augusto Pinochet's birthday. February 6th also had what we call multiplicative numerology of 192. And I point this out because in Ordinal, Homeland Security equals 192. If you measure from the date that the department first began operations, which was back in March 1st of that year, it's been 1,092 weeks since the department began operations. And check out also how national security equals 206, like the date of this vote and the date of the crash. So let's talk more about this Chilean president, because there's some more fascinating numerology worth sharing. So the word president equals 110. Now, Kobe Bryant, the date of his death was a span of 11 days before Sebastián Piñera's. When Alejandro Mayorkas took office, it was exactly 1 year and 1 week after Kobe had died, and now 1,100 days later, they try to impeach him. Now, Kobe was born in Philadelphia, which he shares a 101 value with Gabriel Boric. Oops, the Chilean president. Try not to jump around here too much. There's a lot that's connected. But I point out all these 11 syncs because 11 squared is 121. And this is like the birthday of Sebastián Piñera, who was born on December 10th, or 1st, 1201. 1201 was the Brown lunation number when Kobe Bryant died. Brown lunation 1201. Augusto Pinochet died on December 10th. Another 12-1. 121 is the value of blood sacrifice, which equals 257 reverse, like Los Angeles Lakers in reverse. Kobe's 81-point game was 20,507 days after Sebastián Piñera was born. 81 points, matching Kobe Bean Bryant in multiple ciphers. Sebastián Piñera equals 81, just like Republic of Chile, 81 and 81 reverse. Kobe's 81-point game was 153 days after his birthday. The name Sebastián Piñera equals 153, so does Sebastian, as well as the current president, Gabriel Boric, 153 caps. Kobe was also a span of exactly 27 years and 5 months old when he scored his 81 points. 275 is the Latin value of Pinochet, and the ordinal sum of 666, which I mentioned because Kobe's 81-point game was also his 666th career game. And really, Kobe's life and death completely synced to the number 666. I've done a lot of work on this. Search my channel if you want to see more. So let's jump back to Department Secretary Mayorkas. This vote was on the 37th day of the year. Remember, Chile is 37. Well, United States equals the 37th prime number, 157. And this vote was exactly 157 weeks after Mayorkas took office. Now, the whole Department of Homeland Security was really a response to the 9/11 attacks back in 2001. And if you take the date of the 9/11 attacks and flip it upside down, you kind of get the duration from the DHS's founding to the date of this vote. 1,106 weeks in 1 day. Right? 9/11/01. You turn it upside down, you get these digits. 9/11 and September 11 both have ordinal gematria of 105. This vote happened on House Speaker Mike Johnson's 105th day as House Speaker. House of Representatives, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Alejandro Mayorkas, Alejandro Nicholas Mayorkas, and Secretary of Homeland Security, all with gematria of 150, these same digits. Mike Johnson's full name sums to 77 in standard Pythagorean. Well, we're told that 2,977 people died on 9/11. September 11th and World Trade Center both equal 77. The president during the 9/11 attacks, George W. Bush, turned exactly 77 years and 7 months old for this vote. And of course, he was born just one day before 7/7. George Walker Bush 177, just like Republicans. The name Mike Johnson also sums to 52, and this vote was on a date with 52 numerology. Important because Mike Johnson just turned 52 years old 1 week before the vote. White House, government, president, authority, all 52. Meanwhile, Mayorkas was 95 days after his birthday. The names Johnson and James Michael Johnson both equaled 95. 95 has matching gematria with both Secretary of Homeland Security and Mayorkas, and America as well. All right, a couple more stories we're going to try and finish up here before we sign off today. We're about 50 minutes into the super stream. Shout out to everyone who sticks around for the entire episodes. I really appreciate it. It is cool to see how well I do on YouTube as far as watch time. You know, I don't get great views. My channel is never really recommended to people. And, this is the part where I just kind of rant a bit about how censorship does affect channels like this. You know, I've been struck in the past. I've had a channel deleted. So as far as sharing the work goes, it's kind of on the community. So if there's someone you know who might be interested in knowledge like this, is starting to wake up to perhaps a different side of reality, someone who thinks there's something truly fascinating or strange going on but just can't put their finger on what it is, numerology speaks to a wide range of people in remarkable ways. And I always encourage people to, just simply link some of my posts or videos. And while I don't have the best educational materials yet, where we're going to be focusing on those going forward here in 2024, there's definitely some posts where, it just clicks with somebody. And, I've gotten many messages thanking me for an individual post, maybe about an event from a long time ago that they saw and just instantly, it told them something deeper was going on. And it's always been my goal with numerology to not just share the surface synchronicities, but also the deep connections, particularly to the moon and sun, because once you realize how deep this goes and how old some of these people who are involved get, you realize that there's something more than just conspiracy going on. And while I do believe that the wealthy elite in this country are definitely conspiring against the lower class to transfer wealth, to take freedoms away, things of that nature, we see proof of it with the Tucker Carlson interview, right? I mean, how much more set up by the numbers could this be? But this is all a demonic twisting of the wonderful geometric work that our Creator has done to give us this matrix we live in. And I truly believe that understanding that we're all connected on a level that none of us will consciously understand in reality during our lifetimes, it gives a positive spin to our reality, and the idea that if you put love and positivity into the world, if you work hard towards things you want, these things have a way of coming true. There's no secret about it. There's no magical prayer that needs to be said. It's about belief, action, turning that thought and emotion into something positive. And I know this kind of stuff bores some of my viewers, but you know, it's positivity that some people hopefully carry on to the rest of their lives. So thanks, everyone. And with that being said, let's move on to the story of the death of Rocky actor Carl Weathers, who has passed away at the age of 76. And just like Toby Keith, Carl Weathers dead of cancer. One of the first things that stood out about this news is that it broke on Groundhog Day, February 2nd. And this is a day where we use the weather to predict the rest of the season. So it's interesting that a guy named Weathers was in the headlines that very morning. Another thing worth pointing out is that he died on February 1st, and if you watched my video last week, you saw why February 1st was incredibly significant to black athletes and celebrities. I touched on this in my Dexter King video as well. February 1st was 666 months exactly after the civil rights movement ended. The word citizen equals 666. Civil rights movement, 1665. And Carl Weathers played a boxer named Apollo Creed. And of course, Apollo, the name of the moon missions that took man to the moon, reportedly, back in the 60s and 70s. These missions were the result of efforts by JFK, who was, of course, attributed in the Toby Keith story. So all of this, again, is connected. So here we have, again, the death of another major black celebrity on February 1st, connected to the number 666, like how Apollo equals 666 in Fibonacci. National Aeronautics and Space Administration, fake moon landing, both 666 as well. But first, let's start with this. He played the character Apollo Creed in the first several Rocky films, Rockies 1 through 4. And Apollo Creed was based on Muhammad Ali, who was considered the greatest of all time. That's his nickname, right? The greatest. Well, more recently, Apollo Creed has been played by a different actor, Michael B. Jordan, who of course shares a name with Michael Jordan, who is considered to be the basketball greatest of all time. So there's a big GOAT riddle here, right? GOAT stands for greatest of all time. In astrology, the sign that's represented by a goat is Capricorn. And Carl Weathers was born on January 14th. This means he was born under the sign of Capricorn. The astrological glyph for Capricorn closely resembles the number 76. And the first Rocky film, where Apollo Creed was introduced to the audience, that was in the year 76. And now, Carl Weathers dead at the age of 76. Apollo Creed now portrayed by Michael Jordan, which equals 76 in reverse reduction. So I actually talked about Muhammad Ali pretty recently. Back in October, in a video I'll try to link below after I'm done with this, I did a video on the shootings in Lewiston, Maine. And Lewiston, Maine was the scene of the Ali-Liston 2 fight. One of the biggest boxing matches of all time, which led to the famous photograph with Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. Well, if you measure from those shootings to the death of Carl Weathers, who played the Muhammad Ali spinoff, notice how it was 99 days later. And in Gematria, the name Weathers equals 99 and 909. The name Cassius Clay equals 990. Muhammad Ali also 66. And on the date of those mass shootings, Carl Weathers was 909 months old, again syncing up with his last name. There's a lot more 66 and 99, as we'll see down below here. But first, back to this 666, right? Muhammad Ali has matching Gematria with 666. And both Muhammad Ali and 666 equals 201. Carl Weathers dead on 201. Exactly 666 months after the end of the civil rights movement. Now, if you write out the number 666, you get 2038. The moon, an average of 238,000 miles from Earth. Carl Weathers was born 2,038 weeks before Michael B. Jordan. So both actors who play Apollo Creed, separated by 2,038 weeks, 666. You see how this works. Remember, I mentioned this number earlier, too. So the central figure of the civil rights movement was Martin Luther King Jr., who was born in the year 1929. This was a number coded into George Floyd, whose full name equals 1929. Michael B. Jordan, 1,929 weeks old when Carl Weathers died. Martin Luther King Day, his birthday, is January 15th, or 115. The Apollo moon landing was on a date with 115 numerology, and the name Michael B. Jordan equals 115 in ordinal. Carl Weathers died 115 days after Yale's special 322nd anniversary, which surprisingly hasn't come up yet, but has been a topic of most of my work through 2023 and now 2024. Both Skull and Bones Society and Masonic equal 115, but of course, Skull and Crossbones also with this 1105. The Lewiston shootings were 115 days before this Michael Jordan's birthday. Muhammad Ali died in 2016, 115 days after Michael B. Jordan's birthday. Remember, 115 like killing in multiple ciphers. Michael B. Jordan, his full name, Michael Bakari Jordan, that equals 155, which is also killing in standard. And Carl Weathers, born exactly 15 years, 5 weeks before the other Michael Jordan. It's not just strange how all these guys triangulate in some way with their own numbers. And it's just funny because how many of these numbers did I just talk about in the last decode, right? The 115 we saw with JFK dead on another 115 date. I believe it was Toby Keith with the 115. I'm not going to go through all of these, but a lot of 66 and 99 alignments, looking at Muhammad Ali, Carl Weathers, the Lewiston shootings. There's just so much 66. You know, I didn't want to exclude this, but I just bunched them all together. Some more alignments. Again, my blog is linked below, so if you ever want to see the deep, deep parts of these riddles, always feel free to check those posts out. The posts always come before the videos, as it helps me script things out, keep a little rhythm to what I'm doing here, because indeed there's a lot of chaos sometimes, especially during these super streams, right, where I'm trying to juggle all of these similar numbers from one story to another. All right, so the last news story I want to talk about, I do want to finish this 68th super stream talking a little bit about how the number 68 is connected to myself. But before we do, let's cap this off with another decode on the WWE, who, as I've been revealing lately, is super, super connected to the death of Kobe Bryant. Bray Wyatt dead on Vince McMahon's birthday, or Kobe Bryant Day, 8/24, the two numbers that Kobe wore. So the number 33 was very big, and we covered this at the top of the video, but I suppose it's always worth revisiting. As the number 33 was super important to Kobe Bryant. Kobe born exactly 33 years after Vince McMahon, dead on the date of the 33rd Royal Rumble, 3 years, 30 weeks before Bray Wyatt, and so on. It just goes on and on. Well, at WrestleMania 33, Bray Wyatt fought Randy Orton. And Randy Orton won his 13th title at WrestleMania 33. And this pairing of the numbers 13 and 33 have proven significant over time. We'll look more at that. But in 2021, a couple years after this WrestleMania, another Randy Orton, who wrestled under the name Barry Orton, passed away. This was the uncle of the more famous Randy Orton. So I thought, this dude's death has to be synced up to WrestleMania 33 and everything that we've seen with Kobe Bryant. And no doubt, nothing here disappoints. First of all, the name Barry has basically the same letters as Bray. Bray equals 62, which is the age that Barry died at. Bray Wyatt died 888 days after Barry Orton. And this immediately jumped out at me because in Latin Gematria, Royal Rumble equals 888. And that was the big thing with Kobe and Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt's last match was at the Royal Rumble against a wrestler named L.A. Knight, billed from Los Angeles, the city where Kobe played his entire NBA career. Kobe Bryant died 888 days after the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse. Notice how the name Randall Barry Orton, Barry's full name, is even spelled with the E here. This has matching gematria with coronavirus, 133 in Latin. And again, Kobe dead right before coronavirus. So at WrestleMania 33, Randy Orton wins his 13th championship. And notice how the logo for WrestleMania this year basically had a giant sun behind it. And this is no mistake. Well, the event was held in Orlando, the Sunshine State of Florida. So it stands to reason, but the 33 connected to the eclipse code, as eclipse summing to 33 in reduction. Orlando, Florida, has matching gematria with Randy Orton, 144 ordinal. Randy Orton born 144 days before Kobe's birthday. And think about it, Orlando starting and ending with an O, 2 O's in the name Orton. Randy and Barry also having gematria of 144. And again, everything with Kobe was about Mercury, which equals 798. Well, notice how Barry Orton was born 7,980 days before his nephew Randy. Orlando also shares 79 gematria with murder. Barry was born 7,979 days before his nephew Randy. Orton equals 79 with reverse caps. But more significant is that during his time in the WWE or WWF at the time, Barry wrestled under the name Barry O. The O, the circle, pointing to the eclipse code. Barry O equals 79 in ordinal. Eclipse sacrifice 79. Now check this out. Of course, we talk all about these eclipses, right? 2017 and 2024, the big X over the United States. These eclipses are separated by exactly 82 lunar phases or 320 weeks. Well, notice how the name Orton equals 82 ordinal and 320 Latin. Orton died 30 months and 20 days before Yale's special anniversary, their 322nd, and 3 years and 20 days before the second eclipse. 320 is also the gematria of 13 and 33. Randy Orton winning his 13th championship at WrestleMania 33. Well, this phrase also has gematria of 2137. Randy Orton was 2,137 weeks when his uncle Barry died. And that's important because the number 2137 is the 322nd prime number. the big skull and bones number. Barry even died in the city of Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Nevada equals 223. Bray Wyatt dead in the year 2023. Right before the NFL season began, this NFL season ends with the Super Bowl in Las Vegas this weekend. I will be doing probably a couple of posts on the Super Bowl throughout the week, so for those of you who are looking for that, always some intriguing numerology with the Super Bowl. I feel like they're building up to a bigger numerical riddle in future years, but that's for another day or another time. Barry Orton, dead 295 days after his birthday. This is the ordinal gematria of both 223 and 322. Skull and Bone Society, also 295. The name Barry O with capital letters equals 156, and Barry Orton was born exactly 1,056 weeks before Kobe Bryant. That's the ordinal value of the number 33, 156. Kobe dead 156 days after his own birthday. Both WWE and World Wrestling Entertainment summing to 156. And of course, 33, Kobe, we talked about this over and over. In reverse, 33 equals 141. Well, the first Great American Eclipse was 141 days after WrestleMania 33. World Wrestling Entertainment, also 141. So we see all the 33s with Kobe and Bray Wyatt. Some of the strongest stuff I've done in a while. Well, Barry Orton died 30 months and 3 weeks exactly before Yale's 322nd anniversary and exactly 3 years and 3 weeks before the second eclipse. So Randy Orton wins his 13th title at WrestleMania 33. Well, there was also another world championship promoted at the time in WWE. It's called the WWE Universal Championship, which is still active but currently unified with the WWE Championship. And if this is confusing to the layman who doesn't watch wrestling, I totally understand. They basically have two titles that are seen as equal to one another, since they have so many damn guys on the roster. So this WWE Universal Championship, notice how in the alphabetic order this sums to 303, right? And we see all these syncs with 33 and World Wrestling Entertainment. You could even argue that WWE's logo is like a sideways 33. In fact, it definitely is. So this championship, the 13th champion in the history of this 33 title, well, look at this. It was The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, who became the 13th champion. And look at this. He did it on Kobe Bryant's birthday. I didn't even know that. I can't believe it. August 23rd, Kobe's first birthday after his death. "13 and 33 is found in the capital G of Masonry. 13 capitals mixed, 33 capitals added. Well, if you measure from Randy Orton's 13th title win at WrestleMania 33 to the death of Kobe Bryant, you get 33 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, which is also a span of 1,030 days. So you have a double 33 and the 13. Now, why is this so funny? Well, the name Randall Orton, which is the name that Randy Orton shares with his uncle Barry, it sums to 466 in Latin, and the 466th prime number is 3313. How do you like them apples? Also, Orlando, Florida, 466 with reverse caps. Bray Wyatt died 1,307 days after Kobe Bryant, which is also intriguing because 137 is the 33rd prime number. It just doesn't stop. Total eclipse and eclipse both equal 137. Now remember, Kobe died the same day as the 33rd Royal Rumble. That year's Royal Rumble was won by Drew McIntyre. And in 2011, which was Bray Wyatt's first Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre entered at number 33. He became the first ever 33rd entrant of the Royal Rumble. Barry Orton died 1,307 days after the first eclipse, when Drew McIntyre was 13,070 days old. And if you look up the other WWE Championship, we find that Drew McIntyre was the 137th champion in history, or the 137th title reign for that belt. It's almost shocking the depth that this coding goes to. It's just amazing. So, Bray Wyatt has his final match at the Royal Rumble last year against LA Knight. We talked about this, the Los Angeles connection. Well, notice how Sean Ricker, who plays the character, was born on a date with 113 numerology. There's that big Kobe Bryant number. Kobe Bryant also summoned to 41. Kobe was born exactly 4 years and 10 weeks before LA Knight, which was also 1,531 days. Well, when Kobe died, he was 41 years old and 15,131 days old. Also, the name Bryant equals 82. LA Knight was born in the year 82, and in Ordinal, LA Knight has matching 82 Gematria with Orton. Ritual Sacrifice 82 as well. But what about his real name, Sean Ricker? Notice how Sean Ricker sums to 127. Kobe Bryant died exactly 127 weeks after the first eclipse. Bray Wyatt died exactly 127 weeks after Barry Orton. LA Knight was also born exactly 135 weeks after Randy Orton. Well, that 135 is the ordinal value that Bray Wyatt shares with Kobe Bean Bryant, 135. All right, so I'm pretty happy with this super stream here, but we're going to go ahead and do one fun thing before I wrap things up. And here we're going to talk about some organic numerology and why this number 68 is so relevant to me, and I guess you could call my practice or study of arithmancy, gematria, and so forth. And when it comes to the number 68, there's this really interesting thing. So back in 1998, there was a series of, I guess you could call, psychological type Matrix-like movies. Well, The Matrix technically being one of them. Now, this came out in 1999, but I was 13 years old for all of these movies. You know, we had The Matrix come out talking about living in some sort of simulation. The movie Pi talks about the 216-letter name of God and how it can be found in the Hebrew Torah. In fact, this guy builds a program to decode the Torah, discovering this number, and is then chased by a number of intelligence agencies, Jewish rabbi, stock market experts trying to find this number so they can use it to their advantage. And another movie that came out, in fact, one day after my 13th birthday, was The Truman Show. I went to see this movie on the first day it came out. In fact, I have a cat named Truman, basically after this movie. So, you know, this is about, again, living in some sort of false, fabled reality where everyone's an actor, everyone's playing a role. And even though I'm what you would call like a legit person, right? I'm not a disinfo agent, for instance. And no matter who you are on the internet, someone's going to call you that, you know? And every time someone calls me that, I ask them why, and they don't answer, so whatever. I'm just a guy who is really fascinated by numerology. And to remind you guys, like, Gematria basically fixed a part of my damn brain. And this all began when I was 13. You may recall that back in 1998, Mark McGwire was breaking the home run record. And he hit number 61 on his dad's 61st birthday. And when Roger Maris hit his 61st home run, it was the same date that Mark McGwire was born. And even as a 13-year-old, I wrote this down in a journal that I found a couple years ago. And I was like, wow, what are the odds of all this? How can this be a coincidence? It can't be. So I was doing decodes long before I found Gematria, trying to put things together in my head about how all of this was possible. And this that you're looking at here was in 1998 when I was 13. So, you know, my brain was kind of like gelling with all these movies that were coming out at the time about what reality really is. So, how does this connect to the film Pi? And what's funny about this film is that after I moved into my new house in 2017, I was unloading some totes and I found this movie. It was in a video cassette, an old VHS tape. And I actually have no idea where it came from. I'm pretty sure it was like my friend David from high school who might have given that to me at some point, but I still to this day I'm not sure, and it kind of creeps me out. But a few months after I started doing numerology, someone else did a blog post about me and my numerology, and I was like, what are you talking about? It didn't yet occur to me when I created the Gematrinator calculator that numerology was organic in nature and that I myself am part of this code, right? Because Gematria is bringing a lot of knowledge to people. It's bringing peace to some, information to others, I guess confusion to other people as well, but it has an impact, and it's having an impact around the world on varying levels. And, you know, I see this as a big part of my stamp on the world. You know, I wanted to do music when I was younger, but things kind of led to this. So, this movie, Pi, stars an actor named Sean Gullette. This is the guy who kind of builds the machine that decodes the Torah and finds the name of God. Now, I don't quite have that to my credit. However, I find it fascinating that this guy was born on June 4th. Why do I point that out? Well, birthday equals 604. And my birthday, the Gematrinator, Derek Tickery, me, born on June 4th, that same date, 604. And oddly enough, I have another post about my fascination with the number 64 and how obsessed I was with brackets growing up, tournament brackets. And a lot of this had to do with the NCAA tournament when I was young. I used to watch this and love it. Well, 1985 was the year I was born, and that was the first year that the NCAA tournament expanded to 64 teams. And you had the Villanova Wildcats against the Georgetown Hoyas, which both equal 64 in reduction. Georgetown losing with 64 points. That game, that final, was played 64 days before I was born. Bracketology equals 64, my future obsession. So I have strange links with that number. And here, a little bit of myself in media. But notice how Sean Gullette was born in the year 68. And this brings us to the next sync here, as we're in Superstream 68. Using the reverse alphabetic order, my full name sums to 337, which is the 68th prime number. And yes, I was born with this middle name and middle initial. Now, if you look at how old Sean Gullette was when the movie Pi was released, which was on July 10th of 1998, the wide release, he was 30 years and 37 days old with the end date included. 337, right? And in that movie, he plays a mathematician. Mathematician equals 337. And using square numbers, pi equals 337. The name of the film right there. How ideal, right? Well, also in reduction, pi equals 16. And this movie came out 1 month and 16 days, or I'm sorry, 1 month and 6 days after my birthday and also Sean's birthday. But if you run my age on that same date, I was 13 years and 37 days old. Another 337 alignment. This is the kind of thing that blows my mind, right? Because you have this connection between media and real life. Well, watch how deeper this goes. The name Sean Gillette. Let's go back to the base methods of Gematria. Sean Gillette, the actor's name equals 141 and 183. Fucking Gematrinator equals 141 and 183, the name of my calculator. In fact, check this out. Gematrinator.com, which is how you get to my website, sums to 172. Well, the 172nd prime number is 1021. And in Latin Gematria, the full name of Sean Leland Sebastián Gillette equals 1021. And, I mean, how weird is this, right? I did one of the decodes I did in this video was on Sebastián Piñera, and I had actually forgotten that his middle name was Sebastian. And, you know, I don't talk about many Sebastians on this channel. That's probably like the second or third time, so... Another synchronicity for you, right? Now, in that movie, Gillette plays a character named Max Cohen. And Max Cohen equals 38 like Gematria. But Max Cohen also equals 83. Well, my name in real life equals 83. So my character name matches his real name. His real name matches my character name. Or vice versa. I probably fucked that up. But you see where this is going. Also, the name Cohen equals 90. Like Tickery, 90. Just my last name. And remember, this is letters. Letters is 90 and 99. Whereas numbers matches my first name, Derek. 43, 29, 92. So my first name matches numbers. My last name matches letters. My first plus last name sums to 142 like Gematria. 142. So I can never communicate how spooky that is unless you yourself have found similar things with your own numerology. And I always encourage people to look because I have no doubt that it's there. You just have to have an eye for synchronicity first. Things that manifest in the world that seem to be connected to you. Well, by the numbers, they most certainly are. This is almost inevitable, I presume. And these connections I have to this character, we're born on the same day, our Gematria connects, our ages even line up with the numbers that match us. It's just too frickin' wild. And I guess the last thing I'll point out here is this 1331 eclipse code that is basically the spine of my work. I'm going to have to do a different search. I commonly talk about how the number 1331 is the ultimate eclipse number. All right, tell you what. Let me do the actual blog search. And this will bring us to where we need to be. So if I remember, I'll also link this post down below. Essentially, this number, 1331, represents a solar eclipse. And it goes on and on. It's all coded into the Bible. It's all coded into these two American eclipses. Really some of the wildest stuff you'll see in Gematria. Well, the film The Matrix has a 1331 riddle in it. And I say this because of its release date, March 31st in the United States. 3/31 of 99. So notice how this date had numerology of 133, and the date was 3/31. Well, 133 and 331 both equal 1331. Those are the two numbers you can merge into that number. Well, if you look at this release date and check out my age, how old I was on that date, 13 years and 301 days. And then I grew up and started talking about this Matrix Eclipse code with the world. What the hell? I mean, it's beyond my own understanding. I've surrendered myself to the greater knowledge above, and just hope that as long as I keep putting this info out there and, you know, try and put a positive spin on it and have fun with it, that in due time, this will be basic education here in America and the rest of the world. I think that'd be awesome. But I see it as partially my responsibility to get there. So we're going to improve the website soon. And, you know, in the future, I really think it would be cool to have, like, you know, both in-person and online classes where we kind of just go over the basics. I think that's what I'm going to lean the website towards going forward. In the next couple of weeks, I may have fewer posts and videos, as we're going to do a couple of things for the updated launch on the website coming up in March. I have a new personal numerology calculator that we'll be revealing. Also, I'll be updating some of the match features on the calculator page, both in the database and to your history. You know, one thing that always annoys me is, like, if something is 169 and then you have another 1069, I want to make it so that when you type out 169, it finds everything, including the zeros. And that's just one idea I have on many. So we want to make decoding easier. That's the whole prime of things, because I ain't going to be doing this forever. You know what I mean? But for now, I think that'll do it for this video. Once again, for everybody who's watching, please check the links in the description for more knowledge, more information, or also if you'd like to support the work and keep this going and help things grow. I'm going to be taking it to higher places in coming years. Yeah, also this April, don't forget the eclipse. I'll be down in Indianapolis trying to check that out. Really looking forward to it. Anybody who didn't see the first one in 2017, absolutely do everything you can to try and check it out. And hopefully you don't end up in a cloudy area like the poor folks at the Carbondale Stadium did back then. I felt pretty bad for them, so. But yeah, with that, we'll be wrapping things up. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to y'all next time. See ya.